we have a really special guest today on the Power to Build show. His name is Lionel Romain, and he's the Commercial Operations Manager for real estate at Kijiji Canada. Now, all of our listeners in Canada, I'm certain, know all about Kijiji. It's a massively popular online classifieds website here, very much along the lines of Craigslist, although I would say with a much more modern and usable interface. What people listening might not know about though is just how much there's a really impressive suite of real estate marketing functionality that you can get with Kijiji, and that's what we're so excited to learn more about today.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And more than that, though, Lionel is really an expert in online marketing and, the modern real estate marketplace, making him the perfect guest to share insights and advice to, all of our HomeBuilder listeners.
Yeah, we are really excited to chat with Lionel. So let's just take a quick break here and we'll get back to the interview.
Lionel, thanks so much for joining us. Before we get in depth here, can you introduce yourself and your role at Kijiji to all of our listeners?
Yeah, of course. I'm Lionel Romain. I'm the Commercial Operations Manager here at Kijiji Real Estate. I've been with Kijiji for over 13 years now. And, I'm just super passionate about helping people find new homes. Like as I've kind of made my way through the real estate journey, kind of growing at Kijiji. I just found it super rewarding to kind of help people get into homes in different ways, whether that be rentals or people buying homes, and kind of anything that I can do to kind of help our customers and Canadians kind of make that journey easier or more successful for them. That's kind of what gets me up in the morning. So yeah, just kind of looking forward to doing lots more of that and seeing where the market takes us, and just kind of adapting to what's going on to help advertisers and people looking for homes. That's really it's really my main thing here.
That's awesome, Lionel. And now for those listening in the US or abroad who aren't familiar with Kijiji, how would you explain the Kijiji brand?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Kijiji is not just a silly sounding name. It's one of the biggest brands in Canada. It's actually Canada's largest classifieds marketplace. We have millions of live ads at any given time in a huge range of categories, kind of anywhere from cars to housing to electronics to employment listings, and kind of everything in between, even pets for rehoming. Yeah, there's a ton of new ads posted on Kijiji constantly. We get about 2 new ads every second. And one of the really nice things about Kijiji that we're really proud of is we're helping connect Canadians with one another in person, kind of helping them foster that community aspect, making some money off of their kind of unused possessions, and helping out the environment at the same time with kind of promoting a secondhand economy to keep those goods kind of flowing from one person to another who could still use them. So really, that's kind of the mission at Kijiji, is to keep Canadians in touch with each other, reusing their valuables, and really helping the environment with that secondhand economy.
Very nice. I certainly is a consumer of call it Kijiji. In my past, I've certainly bought a lot of stuff through that platform. But as we mentioned in our introduction, that Kijiji has really innovated in the real estate space with so many important features that help real estate agents, sellers, buyers, and renters, and so forth. What are you most excited about here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've been spending a lot of my time recently consulting with customers about what challenges that they're facing these days, especially given the market has shifted pretty significantly over the past few years, and the kind of needs of advertisers and people looking for homes have changed over the past few years. Once upon a time, it was the main thing was leads, get as many as you can and do your best. But right now, what I'm finding is, obviously volume of leads is super important to home builders and property managers and anyone dealing in the home space. Obviously, the volume is still very important. What I find now is a lot of our customers are starting to invest more in lead nurturing software. to really help those leads convert as best they can. When you're in a spot where, you maybe have relatively few new homes to sell, or relatively, few apartments to rent out, for example, you really need to do your best to make sure that you're not losing any of that interest. You're making sure that you have your best customers coming first, right? You want to make sure that, you're not spending all of your time on leads that, may not go somewhere. So what a lot of customers are doing is investing in this lead nurturing software to make sure that those best leads are coming up to the top, that they're able to respond to them, that they're not falling out of their funnel with things like reminders and appointment bookings and that type of thing. So what we've done at Kijiji is we're actually piloting a new tool right now that we're offering to any type of real estate customer. And what essentially it does is allows them to link out directly from Kijiji on their listing page to their custom booking experience. So if you have somewhere where you like to intake your customers to book an appointment, create a viewing for one of your properties, we're actually allowing our advertisers now to link out directly to their kind of customized or proprietary experiences, whether that be in-house or a third party, so that they can get those potential prospects into the funnel where they want them, where they can nurture leads the best, and where they can take the best care of their customers, right? So we're really encouraging people, hey, if you have a system set up where you're able to take the best care of these customers, let's let those customers come in through that channel, so that you can both benefit from that software, from that experience that you're offering. So really excited to have that out in the wild right now. We've got a few customers that are live using it right now, and we plan a full rollout in Q4. So really excited to start offering that to both the advertisers and renters and buyers.
That's amazing. And as a marketer myself, that's something that, certainly stands out to me. And I'm sure so many of our listeners find that really interesting too. One staggering number I saw, Kijiji sees over 120 million real estate searches every year. What would you say a home builder, in specific, a new home builder, needs to know about getting the most out of a platform like Kijiji, given, that staggering number of searches and volume?
Yeah, it's a good question. Kijiji is actually very unique in the sense that searches are quite a popular part of what we do here and how people discover properties. Typically on a lot of listing sites, you'll land on a map immediately and you'll just look around for location, right? But the unique thing about Kijiji is we do have the ability for buyers and or renters to use our search experience to look for keywords that might not necessarily be in some kind of a, included in structured data, or included in one of the main highlights or amenities of the property. Maybe they're looking for something that's slightly different, maybe something about the community, maybe something about a neighborhood, for example. And by allowing people and encouraging them to perform those searches along with our filters, it really helps them find what they're looking for much easier. And it helps advertisers be able to use keywords from their expertise and from their knowledge about their property and their neighborhoods to attract the right tenants. So that's one really unique thing about Kijiji is we actually do have the ability to have those searches happen. But the most important thing is that Kijiji has this extremely unique audience, right? The reason why we have so many searches is because we have people coming in from all different angles. We have people looking for cars. We have people looking for service technicians and that type of thing. So our audience comes in from all different angles, and we help them discover that real estate category. And by using Kijiji, you're going to discover a really unique audience that maybe might not be found on some of these other platforms, or that you could source from other marketing channels. So I think that's kind of the most important thing to keep in mind about that, is just that unique audience that we have and that unique experience.
That makes a lot of sense. And, you brought up these really great avenues to promote home listings, both with Kijiji and on other services. At the same time, with so many great opportunities and options comes challenge too. What do you think are the biggest challenges that builders and real estate professionals face today with online marketing?
Yeah, it's it's I kind of lean back towards one of the things that we were talking about earlier around that, like nurturing and qualifying leads. People are so busy, and people have all different types of ways of wanting to communicate when they are looking for a home, whether that be a rental or a home for sale. Everyone has different preferences, whether that be like a different demographic group who maybe, wants to send a text message, or, whether that be a slightly older demographic that wants to place a phone call, or, even that the middle demographic who maybe wants to use these request a viewing or book an appointment functionalities. There's just all sorts of preferences of people of different customer types that you're going to be engaging with. And it's just super important to understand who you're dealing with, what channels these leads are going or inquiries are going to come in from, and know how to manage those leads. And, it's not necessarily saying that you have to have some kind of lead nurturing software or some kind of really fancy, expensive tools to help you nurture that, but really creating that understanding of those different segments of your potential audience, of your potential customer base, and how they want to be interacted with can make the difference between converting that lead to a seriously interested buyer, or losing that lead by not engaging with them in the way that they want to engage. So I think it's just super important to keep in mind that shoppers have preferences, and to lean into that as an advantage for you and your team, understanding that will get you further down the path and get that lead further down the funnel.
That's awesome, Lionel. And diving a little bit deeper into this, when it comes to new home marketing specifically, right? What's important for home builders to know, when promoting their listings online? Obviously we are in the era now where there's basically ads everywhere we go. How can builders be sure that their ads stand out from all the others?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think one of the things, I'd probably speak from my experience kind of specifically around what I see on Kijiji with new home sellers, is get me more pictures, please. That would be my main call out is please get me more pictures for your listings. I mean, floor plans are okay, right? People understand floor plans, they know what they look like. But really gets people interested is quality media, right? And I understand that sometimes it's not always available depending on the stage of the project, where you're at in the process with those creative assets, or whether it be, actual photos. But even artistic renderings are a great supplement or substitute for real life photos.
Yep.
It gives people a really good idea, and allows them to kind of dream a little bit about that property, right? Really see themselves in that space, versus having some kind of drawings that are maybe a little bit more abstract. It's hard to picture yourself in that space. So one of the things we actually did for our customers is we recently added a feature in our tool that shows them right on their dashboard the number of photos associated with each one of their listings, so that when they do sign in and they're managing their listings, they're making edits, or they're using a promotional feature, they can see right away at a glance that listing only has 3 photos. It needs attention, right? So I think that would be the thing for me, is just as much media as you can include, whether that be photos, whether that be virtual tours, artist renderings. Like I said, the more the merrier, and you're going to have more success depending on how many images that you have. So that's a strong recommendation for me. Use all the assets that you have.
Yeah, no, totally agree with everything that you say, right? Especially when it comes to homes, like pictures says 1,000 words. So you definitely need those in order to kind of, like you said, picture yourself in that environment. We love to talk about data here at Constellation. When a builder leverages Kijiji, what kind of data do they get access to, and how does it help, help them optimize their online marketing?
Yeah, so there's a lot of data that you can look at. Like I think I mentioned earlier, around kind of understanding the different lead channels that you can intake customers from. So there's some like primary metrics that we recommend that our advertisers facilitate conversations through, which are email inquiries is probably, the primary one. Phone calls is also very important, right? Like phone calls are probably less popular these days in some senses, because a lot of people are into text or instant messaging. But one thing to keep in mind is that if someone's calling you, they're really interested, right? Given that same angle, that phone calls are less popular. If you're getting a phone call, it's probably because someone is very interested, doesn't want to miss that opportunity. And then like website visits are great as well, right? So I think it's just about, again, understanding those channels, like specific little like tidbits like that with phone calls, right? Like just understand that that's a really potentially high quality lead. So you got to make sure you pick up the phone. So we provide data on, we provide advanced data on phone calls. So we have a call tracking service, which allows our customers to understand how many calls they've received, how many of them they've answered, how many of them they've missed, the length of the call, all the data about the call, so that if they happen to, if they happen to miss some information that they wanted to input in their CRM, for example, they can go back and get that data and really keep track of things. So really great ability to leverage our call tracking data, but just like in general as well, like there's a lot of different ways that you can look at potential interest in your property that's not necessarily like a lead. Like we offer the ability on Kijiji to share listings to other platforms, right? Or share them to a friend, for example. And we provide insights on that as well. So it really gives you a kind of a full like 360 idea of like who's interested in your listing, maybe from like a very immediate basis, like a phone call, for example, and then how many people are kind of passively interested in your listing, maybe a share on social media, which suggests that there's some interest, but maybe not gaining that traction at that point in the journey. But it certainly gives you an indication of the interest in your property, aside from just how many messages did I receive. So I think it's really important just to dig into that and understand how you're doing with these different types of leads, and just kind of loop that back into your marketing strategy, and see how you can improve and watch those metrics change as you make updates to your marketing approach.
That makes a lot of sense. And just keeping on the subject of data, is there any interesting, industry-wide data you've seen, not specifically relating to Kijiji, but just kind of interesting data metrics that you'd want home builders and real estate marketers to know?
Yeah, like really there's some really great resources out there, right? There's a lot of the larger firms in Canada at least put out pretty regular reports, quarterly reports on kind of the state of the industry, which are super helpful. Outlets like JLL and Colliers, CMHC is a really great resource. Their annual reports are fantastic and exhaustive. If you're not reading those, you have to. That would be my first place to start, is those annual reports. Really gives you an idea of what's going on in the industry. What are the trends? What are they related to in terms of mortgage rates, banking, all of that type of stuff. So just really getting that full 360 view. That's one of the places I would absolutely recommend, if you're not looking at that already, is the Canadian Housing and Mortgage Corporation. CMHC produces a great report, and it's housed on the Government of Canada website as a kind of national asset. And it's probably the most valuable one for me that I read every time it comes out, and I refer back to it regularly. So lots of data in there to go through, and there will be something specific to your business that you'll find in there that will help you regardless of what you're working on.
That's great. We focused a lot today on home builders specifically, Lionel, but what about the consumers, right? What tips do you have for prospective buyers and renters to use, today's great channels, to make that process of finding, their home a lot easier?
Yeah, no, it's great question. I spend a lot of time worrying about this myself, just from feedback of people that we hear that are using Kijiji, feedback from customers about their customers, and even on Reddit. Like I'm a frequent Reddit creeper. I'm on all the real estate channels to kind of find out what are these pain points that renters and buyers are feeling these days, and that really helps give me some context for my job. So probably one thing that I would strongly recommend that's a main thread through all of these conversations that I see is kind of being ready and prepared, right? Like, and kind of where you are in your journey. And I think it's really important that you have all of the knowledge and all of the assets that you need to make the right decision at the right time. The worst thing is to, look back 6 months later and say, what, I wish I was ready to make an offer on that particular property, but, I didn't have my pre-approval in hand. I didn't, I hadn't spoken to, to someone and expressed my interest. And then that unit came off the board, or that home got sold without my knowledge. Right. So really having those pre-approval, having those documents ready that you need, on the renter's side, right? If you have, building your kind of tenant profile there to make sure that you have a credit score available, that you have your references available, so that when you do see that property that you're interested in, you can show that you're prepared and that you are a good quality lead for that whoever's either renting or selling the property. You want to make sure that they know that you're seriously interested, seriously prepared, and you're a person that could make something happen in that transaction. So I think that's the super important part, is just being really ready and making sure that the sellers or the landlords are taking you seriously, because, in some cases, at least in the rental space, they've got a lot of people to choose from. Right. And
Right.
at some points in the homes for sale market as well, certain properties get very popular. There's going to be a lot of offers in there. You need to make sure that you're ready with your offer, with your documents, with everything ready to go, so that you don't miss out on that opportunity. I had that happen to me once myself, about 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm still kicking myself to this day. There's a particular house that I drive past almost every day.
Oh, no.
And I wish
Oh,
that I had
gosh.
everything ready to go and I would have been in there. I do have a lovely home now, but I still can't get rid of that feeling of regret with not being ready when I wanted, when I found something I really wanted. So that's something that I would pass along to consumers for sure.
Right. I recently had the opportunity to purchase a home myself, and I wish we had done this podcast a lot sooner with you, because I think a lot of the audience, along with myself, just would be appreciative of all the advice that you just provided here. So appreciate it so much, Lionel. I think with that we'll wrap up here. Thank you for everything that you've shared with us. Again, really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be on. And, if any of your audience has any inquiries or wants to chat with our team, we're always available. We've got a ton of reps over here who are industry experts, and kind of happy to have these conversations with customers or potential advertisers. We're big real estate nerds over here. So if anyone's interested, give us a ring and we're happy to talk shop.
Awesome. Thanks so much,
Thanks
Lionel.
very much.
Thanks again, gents.
Super interesting, what he shared about just overall the entire conversation. I learned a lot as far as, I've been a consumer of Kijiji, all my life, and I never realized that Kijiji now offered, a whole new market being, searching for real estate. Definitely gonna keep that in mind going forward, as far as, in the future, whenever I'm looking for new homes or, renting, things like that. So, I really do appreciate, him letting us know that. So now we have sort of another channel that we can explore into when we go through this process.
Yeah, it really is such a great suite of technology there. And, with all that discussion about those great opportunities for home builders with tools like Kijiji, it's always, I guess, important to remember that it can be a challenge too of managing all of those channels, your own website and more. I just would take a second to give a shout out here to the NHLS distribution engine. It's an amazing tool that can sync your listing info tied right to your kind of home building management system, your ERP system, and it can link that with the web's most popular marketing channels, be it Kijiji, Zillow, Realtor.com in the States, Livable, even local MLS feeds. It takes just a few clicks. It's really an amazing tool that helps streamline and solve a lot of those challenges and let builders optimize these channels without it becoming that kind of an extra burden in their workload.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I get the opportunity to, speak with builders on a daily basis. And I know the builders that I speak to find this such a valuable tool as far as, kind of syndicating all their different channels into one tool, right? So give it a search on Google, the NHLS New Home Listing Service Distribution Engine, and you'll be surprised at the capabilities there out of that platform. And as always, if you have any feedback for our show, or, have some great insights that you want to share in a future episode, please email us at podcast@constellationhb.com. We would love to hear from all of you. And if you enjoy the show, don't forget to subscribe to our favorite podcast service, and please leave us a like and review. It would be much appreciated.